Well, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to kick this off. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We're very happy to be able to share some of our work on our survey. So my name is Eric Shepherd. I am the co-founder of the Talent Transformation Guild, and I'm joined today by Martin Belton.
Hi there. Thank you, Eric. Nice to talk to everybody.
Great to have everyone here. There's still some folks coming in, but we're going to let Martin handle the meat of the presentation later on. Well, he'll describe how we did the survey, and there'll be links at the end of this presentation for you to download the report directly, and we'll also be recording this, providing access to that on the website. So let's kick off, and I'm going to start off by just giving some context to the new world of work. When we think about the new world of work, the question is it scary or exciting? So in some ways, we can say many jobs are going to be displaced, where really it's many tasks are going to be displaced. And what does that mean? We've been through these societal changes before, and so I personally think it's exciting, and I think it's exciting that we'll luckily be able to do more human kind of jobs rather than jobs that maybe should be delegated to machines. So when you're trying to decide whether something's scary or exciting, you go look at the data. And so Martin and I spent a lot of time researching, reading reports, and we realized that there was some missing data out there specifically targeted about how C-suite executives, consultants, and leaders feel about the new world of work. So that was the primary motivator for us to do it. And there's some very exciting results. We're very keen to share these with you because it provided us with insights, and hopefully these will be helping you. The previous industrial revolutions were driven by machines, being driven by steam power. Then we had mass production, and electrical energy made it easy to manufacturing anywhere. And then we got into computers and electronics and devices and automations. Now in the fourth industrial revolution, we're looking at cobots and collaborative devices, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and it brings a whole new meaning to work and how we'll be performing our tasks. So that's the context. There will be jobs that will be given off to robots, or certainly tasks that will be given off to robots. So we can think of the dirty, the dangerous, the dull, repetitive, demeaning, disliked, detestable. There's a lot of D words in here, and the physically tough and dangerous jobs. So these are going to be pretty non-contentious. We're going to see that everybody will welcome handing those off to machines. And how is this going to be done? Well, it's going to be done by things like innovative drones for inspections, to inspect boilers or chimneys or buildings or ducts, and also for delivery. We'll see more drones for autonomous drones for delivery. Exoskeletons that were designed to assist the disabled are also being used to power workers, so to prevent injury at work and lift heavier objects. And these exoskeletons are then learning by the behaviors of the employees to help them improve their assistance. We're also seeing caregiving robots. As the population demographics move up in age, it's good to have more empathetic robots to provide caregiving. And speech recognition, which is really empowered by artificial intelligence. They're everywhere, Siri and Alexa and Google Home, that we can call out to these devices, and they will be a virtual assistant ready, willing, and able to help us. Facial recognition, again, AI enabled. We're seeing more use of that in things like hospitality. So at the front desk, people don't have to say, "Who are you?" They can say, "Oh, you're a very valued customer, thank you." So it brings that more human qualities to our interactions and to our work. And then, of course, for security, biometrics, and using facial recognition and other biometrics for security access purposes. So let's look at the four drivers behind this future of work. So demographics, business models, technology, and working practices. We're going to start with the demographics. we see that we have a new generation coming up that has been digitally enabled from a young age. They're very used to using these devices. We're seeing this idea of reverse mentoring, where traditionally people that had been in the jobs longer would mentor the ones that had been in the job for less time. But now with the digital generation coming in, there's reverse mentoring. So younger folks are mentoring the ones with more experience, so that there's this cross-reference of experiences. We are living longer. There are a greater aging in population. So the generations coming in now will probably have a longer working life than the ones previously. Diversity and inclusion, not only diversity of race or gender, but diversity of experience and thought. And when you have diversity, you kind of you need to ensure that people are not excluded. So has to be programs for inclusion to encourage that creativity and working together. And then worker mobility. It was traditional for people to stay in a job for a long period. And now people are staying in jobs for shorter periods, changing jobs more often. And the gig economy might mean there's more small project work. Next thing is changing is business models. So everything is a service. We used to buy things like cars, but now we'll lease cars or just lease it with the driver for the experience. We might lease an autonomous car just for a journey or two. So everything is becoming as a service. Crowdsourcing, so we have access to worldwide networks. We can draw upon expertise and opinions much more easily than we could before. And data-driven decision-making. So we have access to data. We can slice and dissect data. We can run experiments and get some insights into what's going on. And then the rise of marketplaces, digital marketplaces, matching supply and demand in numerous contexts, like Airbnb or Uber or Lyft, etc. But many, many more marketplaces out there than before. And then, of course, we've got the enabling technologies. This is full of alphabet soup, but artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things that helps data collection, 5G. It's not just one more than 4G. The latency is dramatically reduced. The speeds are dramatically increased. So we'll have much more communication between devices and vehicles. So 5G is going to be big. Augmented reality, virtual reality, remote process automation, blockchain, robots, bots, and new materials. So all of these things, they're not just additive, they're multiplying each other. So they're coming together, making 1 and 1 and 1 equals 10. A metaphor here might be making a cake. You know, we have flour and eggs and butter and milk. If they're separately, they don't bring a lot of enjoyment to a meal, but we mix them together, we get a beautiful cake. The working practices, it's the fourth driver that we see behind the future of work. There's a concept of build, buy, borrow, or bot. So we can take in inexperienced people and grow them. We can buy in experience. We can borrow experience from one of the gig platforms and use freelancers, or we could just outsource it to automation or a robot. So changing our working practices, more agile marketing, agile product development. Remote working, and we've seen the numbers recently with the coronavirus, and so we would expect that more remote working will be happening in our future. Task complexity, as automation does simple stuff, we're going to be expected to do more complex stuff, more analysis, more creativity, and tasks are going to be replaced by automation. The concept of tea workers, where we might know a little about many things, but we have a specialty about one specific thing. And then well-being. Now there's a recognition of how important well-being is, from a cognitive state, from an emotional state, from a physical state. Well, those are the four drivers. So as I said before, my name is Eric Shepherd. I'm one of the co-founders of the Talent Transformation Guild. I have been a business leader for many years, or probably should say many decades. I sit on a number of boards and board of advisors and member of board of directors. I was formerly a CEO of Question Mark for many, many years. So it's an international organization that provides software as a service for assessment. So I have a lot of experience about assessing knowledge, skills, behaviors, and also with that C-suite experience, understand the metrics that are required for successful organizations. I've also been lucky enough to be involved in many of the standards of best practices and data models with HR Open Standards, IEEE, IMS, ADL, AICC. So it's been a great privilege, and I bring that experience to the Talent Transformation Guild to help people and our members understand what's changing and how they might develop their skills to be ready for the future of work. Martin Belton, I'm going to hand off to him in a moment. He has really done the heavy lifting on this survey, so I'm going to hand off to him to provide his introduction, and then he'll talk us through the survey results. Martin.
Eric, that's great. Thank you for that introduction and that background. As Eric says, my name is Martin Belton. I'm also a co-founder of the Talent Transformation Guild. And I've been a C-suite executive in PR and marketing for many years. And before I got in the HR and the learning marketplace, and I was previously head of PR for SunGard Capital Markets. That's a multi-billion dollar corporation, US corporation. And then I've worked for, again, for organizations which are quite well known, both in the UK and in the US. So organizations like SAPA and NetX, but also Calidus, who are kind of the LMS leader in the UK. So that's my background. And so what I'm going to do now is take you through our survey results. And before I do that, other people's survey results as well. So there's a reason why I just want to talk about other people's results. That's partly to give you some background, and partly to give you more validation and a better understanding of where we are within this marketplace at the moment. So I'm going to start with this survey from PwC, and it's a great place to start because it gives you straight away that feeling. These facts at the top, I'm not going to keep reading the numbers out, but these facts at the top give you the vision that there is some, dichotomy of views here. There are, some people saying, look, people are going to have fewer people have stable long-term in the future. Lots of people are worried about automation putting their jobs at risk, and that number's going up. On the other hand, 73% believe technology is never going to replace the human mind. And you can see that as well by the way that people are responding in terms of single word answers about the future of work. So people are excited and confident, but people are also worried or even uninterested. They think it's too far ahead. Well, we don't believe it's that far ahead, and we're going to explain why that is today. 56% of HR respondents said that it was the artificial intelligence was the biggest challenge for the HR function. Well, it's also then important to turn to another report, and this is a Gartner report, so it's a well-founded report, and we've got a similar set of facts here. So 56% said something similar. Organizational design and change management will be a top priority for 2020, but an equal number of people, CHROs and learning development leaders, said that developing their current and future leadership bench was a top priority. Meanwhile, 66% of CHROs and 86% of HR tech leaders say that building critical skills and competencies was a top priority. So this is the sort of background that we're looking at from these other reports. Let's just quickly turn to this Brandon Hall survey now. On the right-hand side, you can see some of the beliefs about the use of AI in HR. And without going through all of these, you'll see once again, we've got that slight variation in views. Some people saying, great, AI is going to be great, it's going to help me with my jobs. Other people going, I'm not so sure, it's going to replace some of these jobs. Some people are saying, great, we're going to partner with them, but it's not going to replace me. Other people saying, well, it's always going to need the human touch anyway. So difference in feelings. People are certainly certain. If you see down that middle column, people are talking about the benefits. sometimes the benefits are much clearer to see than the actual how it's going to affect individuals. So people are talking about reducing time, improving candidate and employee experience, better decision making, better scaling of support functions as well. But there's no question in HR and human capital management that AI will be employed across various sections. So learning and development, talent acquisition, talent management, workforce management, lots of effects of artificial intelligence looking forward. So let's move on to our survey now. So we were quite fortunate in that both Eric and I have got good contacts and good information from a whole range of people. And this is important because we wanted to understand how it would affect organizations across the board. And we're not just talking about HR, but we want to see C-suite views and learning development views as well. And you'll see from this slide, we got a fair cross section, we got a good number of responses, and we got a fair cross section across the board. That other section, they tend to be also people who are C-suite, HR, L&D, but they work for smaller organizations, so they might be carrying on 2 or 3 of these functions at the same time. So we to not confuse things, we put them in as other solutions. So that's who's done the survey. Let's turn quickly now to the HR related issues that we actually were keen to look at. And across the top of this slide here, underneath the title, you'll see those 5 areas that we wanted to focus on. That is AI and automation, diversity and inclusion, employee engagement, talent development, and talent acquisition. So, and we said, okay, rank these issues in order of importance from critical to not important. I'm not going to take you through the individual numbers, as I've said before, but let's just look at a couple of things that sort of put these into focus. And I've actually pinpointed on there the employee engagement, critical and not very important columns. Those greens look quite similar. I apologize for that. I made the mistake earlier, and I'm hoping, and I'm pinpointing this so you won't, that that we don't get mixed up with the talent development side of things. What we're saying is, look, employee engagement came out very strongly across the board as being an important issue. As indeed did all of these things in terms of being critical to not important. This gave us the confidence that we were talking about the right things in this particular survey in terms of the new world of work. So that was the kind of top-down question. What we did then, though, is we went out and started to break down into these individual issues and said, okay, what about the individual issues? How do different parts of the organizations feel about it? And let's take AI and automation here first, because this is where we get our first real variation. And I'm going to pinpoint this. Red arrows there point to the C-suite attitude towards AI and automation. And you can see, look, they really have this vision that this subject is critical or very important. And look at that compared with the HR attitude, much, much lower. So there's a real disconnect there between C-suite and HR, and indeed even down to learning and development. Though they do recognise it as being very important. But this is the first real fact that I think is worth noting. There is a real disconnect here between what the C-suite are seeing and what HR are thinking. Let's move on to the talent development side, because we also looked at that. Once again, these are the same question. How important do you see it? And we're looking at the same people, but talk about talent development. And there is a bit of a balance here. We are seeing that the learning and development people are seeing it as more critical, but most people who are employed within an organization, the C-suite, HR, learning and dev, they're all seen it as either critical or very important. There's not much actual difference in the numbers between these 3 sectors. It's lower when you look out to consultants, but you would kind of expect that anyway. That's talent development. Let's compare that to talent acquisition. We get a slight divergence here. C-suite more focused on that talent acquisition role issue than HR, and that's perhaps not entirely surprising, but there's not much in it sufficient though to be notable. Move on to employee engagement. Now, the first thing I would note here is that there is a big light blue column on that critical number there. Do you know what I'm going to say? Don't worry too much about that. And the reason is that that's for the others people within this survey. I don't wish to disregard them, but typically they were from smaller organisations and perhaps more in focus on a personal level with their employees than in other organisations. So I think they would see employee engagement, direct engagement, as being a critical issue. So I know it's important, but we're just going to disregard that for the purposes of what we're talking about here. Instead, let's just look at that HR number again. They really are still focused very much on employer engagement. There's some discussion that perhaps is not as important as it was. It's still pretty important with the guys we talk to. C-suite, we're still talking about getting on for 65%, say, you know what, it's a critical or very important issue, but it's the HR people who are really focusing down on it in 2020. Let's move on now. And again, now this is another set of figures which didn't absolutely amaze me too much. Let's talk about the importance of diversity and inclusion in 2020. And there's a kind of relationship here in the people employed within organisations. But the C-suite are kind of behind certainly learning and development and HR in their vision of the importance. Again, learning and development, I know that there's a huge amount of courses and a huge amount of work being done right now to make sure that these issues are covered off and will continue to be covered off, so you can understand why they see how important this is. Let's move on. So this was a really good question. The graph, I know, looks fairly mundane at the first view, but it's actually 3 questions in one. And what we've said is, look, give us your views to these 3 statements. I'm familiar. So those statements are: I'm familiar with opportunities for automation in the workplace. Number 1. Number 2, I'm aware of the option to introduce automation. Number 3, I'm in favour of automation in the workplace. And we said, look, do you strongly agree? Are you unsure, disagree, or strongly disagree? So I kind of call this my field of dreams slide, because if we look at this here, the kind of only real variation on this is the fact that more people are in favour of automation in the workplace. You know, if they're aware of it, they're in favour of it. So what we're kind of saying is, you know what, if you get into AI and robotics, if you build it, they will come. People will understand. Once you understand it, the more attractive it becomes. So that was the first reading of that particular set of stats. However, I did dive into it a little bit deeper, and this emerged. So, and now we're talking about familiarity with automation. That's just the answers to one of the questions. And here, look, we've got a real divergence of vision again. So the black line, the HR, only around 25% of HR people are saying, look, you know, I'm really familiar with automation. Whereas the C-suite are really already grasping it. 63, 64% of people there are saying, yes, I'm familiar with it and I understand it. So there's a better grasp again. There's good evidence of a better grasp from the C-suite. Let's move on. We then asked about, you know, actually words about how you feel about automation. We actually saw something similar from PwC earlier on. And we actually have a fairly similar set of results, which is kind of gratifying. Each bears the other one out. We're certainly saying, look, innovative and exciting are the most, are the clear winners in terms of how people are feeling about automation. We did have a slightly lower figure for people being worried about it, saying, you know what, it's dangerous. And I'll just pinpoint those 2 numbers there. We only had 6.7% saying it's dangerous. What I would say, though, is some of the others, quite a few of those were sort of trepidation or skeptical or words like that, which kind of, you know, cements that other figure up a little bit higher, really. And again, that wouldn't bear out with what we've seen from other surveys. So it's a good reference point, that. The one thing I didn't go into drawing a graph on this, but you can see it in the report that we're going to send down to you afterwards. But and I'm not going to go into the numbers again, but a couple of things to note. Again, the C-suite reviewed automation in the workplace much more positively than other people. And likewise, C-suite executives were much more descriptive when it came to other comments. So there's a couple of comments down there, and the fact that they're more descriptive, the fact that they're more willing to talk, to wax lyrical, I think is telling us that they have a better handle on what's happening. HR executives rated it futuristic with 37.5%. Again, perhaps a bit behind the curve here. Okay, so we talked a lot about AI and automation, and Eric talked about the types of automation that we've got the potential to have. So we asked that question, what type of automations are you planning to use, or using, or you're not aware of, not heard of? And we got a clear message straight away, and you can see that in these big green lines. Lots of people are aware of all these different types of automation, but they've not got any plans to use. Now, if you're not aware of these types of automation, that's fine. Again, in the report, we go off to describe a little bit more about our PA and warehouse robots and things like that. So other than that, there is one other thing I just draw your attention to in here, and that is the chatbots. So in terms of actually using or planning to use, chatbots rules the roost in terms of in these particular issues. And the graph is almost, because of the high numbers of the green bars, it doesn't quite show it as much as it could do. But you will see that in terms of actual using and even planning to use, chatbots are the single type of automation that people are really grasping at the moment. So final graph really to look at today, and quite a revealing one, slightly different angle, because we asked, if you use consultants and freelancers, which roles do you expect their use to increase in 2020? And we looked at 3 different types of roles. So admin roles, and that is virtual personal assistants, VPAs, or skilled service roles, artwork or programming roles, and then finally management roles or consultants. And the stats came, I think it was a slight surprise for us. I kind of imagined, as you look there, you'll see that perhaps the admin roles, well, they're not, the VPAs, they're not increasing perhaps as much as the other 2 types of roles, especially those skilled services. If you're an art worker or a programmer, 2020 looks good, because getting on for 40% of organizations are looking to increase your use, and fewer actually using less. But also, management roles, consultants, they're doing pretty well as well. So, guys, thank you very much. That's a brief introduction to the report. As I say, the link there will let you download the report. You'll also get an email after this, which will direct you to be able to download that. I recommend it to you, and I hope that you find it interesting. Eric?
Well, Martin, that was great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I had forgotten to mention at the beginning of the call that if you have any questions, that you can type them into the little chat box there. Not a chat bot, but a chat box. And Martin and I can answer them. A couple of people did take the initiative, realized that, and they typed in some questions. And as I read the questions, I thought, let's leave these to the end, and we just have a couple of minutes to go through that. So the question that, Andrew, thanks for taking the initiative to jump in and ask your question, and others that are on the call, please type them in. And if we can't answer them here, we'll answer them later. So Andrew's question, Martin, he's dialing in from San Francisco. He says, given how automation robots is progressing, what do you think will happen with jobs in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, yeah, thank you. That is a good question. I think the most obvious thing is, look, there's going to be a change of tasks. So it's not so much that I think that jobs will disappear. It's just that these tasks will change. New tasks will come along. Other tasks that will disappear. More human things will come to the fore, I think. But I think that's just my view. Eric, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of the media will quote the 40 to 50% of jobs will change or disappear, but I think it's 40 to 50% of tasks will be automated and new tasks will be invented. So just as there's new job roles today that didn't exist 5 years ago, the same will happen in 5 and 10 years. So I think it's an exciting time. I think that there'll be new jobs coming, new, more interesting tasks to be done. There's interesting stories about a mess that a restaurant could get into if they didn't have people providing the service, customer service, etc. So I think there's many tasks that will remain with people. And the good thing is the human kind of tasks like creativity and empathy, etc., are things that we are still going to be doing in our daily work. Thank you. I just got another question here. I'm going to shorten it a bit here, John. John from New York, what's your vision for the Talent Transformation Guild?
Well, again, great question. We're going to keep up with the changes in the new world of work. We're looking forward to getting more information out and doing more research, and working with organisations and individuals to help people understand and help people really tackle it and improve the opportunities that we've all got. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of goes back to our mission, vision, and purpose, Martin, insofar as that we see a lot of scaremongering out there by people trying to get click-throughs to say there's a worrying future. We really wanted to accumulate the evidence and the reports and do the research to help people learn and understand and be prepared for the new world of work rather than just worrying about ghosts. So our vision is to keep putting that content out there. There's actually another question come in that how do we keep up with the changes? So I'm going to deal with that in my response to John. As we look to the future, and this is worldwide, I didn't explain it at the beginning, but I'm located in the US, Martin is in the UK. We have a lot of international experience. And so we're not only looking at our local countries, but also how does the future of work look around the world. And as we look into the future, we will learn what will be automated and what will not be automated. And we'll be encouraging people to look about how they can learn to do tasks that are unlikely to be automated. Because that's, we all know the learn, keep learning. That's going to certainly help you develop your career and develop teams and develop organizations, but focus your learning in areas that are not going to be automated. Martin, any supplements?
No, that's a great and comprehensive answer, that, Eric. Thank you.
Well, we're running out of time, so we're going to, I think we've run out of time. My apologies for overrunning slightly. I did just want to let you know that I am writing a book in conjunction with a lady called Joan Thorpe, who I've worked with for many years. And the book is going to be looking at the new world of work, talent transformation, and how assessments can play a part in that. So in this practitioner's view, how are we going to help people develop their behavioral competencies, their skills in order to position for the new world of work? So that's an exciting project, and I look forward to releasing it. I just wanted to give you a little plug for that. So thank you again, Martin, for all of your work, and thanks to all of the folks that turned up. It was great to have you with us.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.